everyone, and welcome. This is Susan Lopresti. Thank you so much for being here with me today. For those of you who don't know, I am a holistic health coach, a Reiki and meditation practitioner, and my podcast is all about ways that women can stay healthy and vibrant for many years to come. Stress eating can be defined as emotional eating, or eating to compensate for, or as an alternative to dealing with one's emotions. 27% of adults admit to turning to food during stressful times, while 34% of these admit it to being a habit. So I find it interesting because when I'm dealing with stress, I lose my appetite entirely. So I think it's kind of interesting that some people actually turn to eating during stressful times. Why do we do it? While it's easy to blame external factors, the food itself, the party who provided it, the place in which it's consumed, the real underlying issue with stress eating lies in the lack of awareness of our bodies, of our emotions, and also of our ability to deal with them. The majority of the time, stress eating is done at a time when the body doesn't actually need food, as the message between the mind and the body get confused, and hunger is not the main reason why you're eating to be satisfied. Harvard Health has issued a fascinating article which details some of the reasons that stress causes overeating in adults. And please go back into the description of this presentation to pick up all of these valuable links that I'm including so that you could do further research on this. Let's talk about stress and food. As the article which I linked, you'll read, in short, it says that stress can actually prevent hunger cues. The hypothalamus in the brain produces hormones which actually suppress the appetite initially. But if the stress continues over time, the opposite actually occurs, and cortisol gets released at higher levels, which increases your appetite and causes those encompassed in the stressful episode to block out any emotions and sometimes even logical thought. That's definitely a cue to stressful eating. So if you don't know if you eat because you're stressed, that's a sure cue that you should start paying attention to. And like everything else with health and wellness, both physically and emotionally, is being self-aware. So the longer that the stressful period continues, the more emotional eating a person will do. And this inevitably will lead to weight gain if it's long-term stress, right? And further hormonal imbalances will happen, and an increased risk of more serious diseases down the line, such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And it's a vicious cycle that once entered into can be really difficult to escape. But fortunately, there are ways to escape periods of stress and emotional eating. And that's what we're going to talk about. The first step, which you are all doing by attending this seminar, is exactly what you need to be doing. You are acknowledging that it has become an issue in your life just by attending this class, right? And this is often where a lot of people will actually fall short, as their eating habits may fluctuate from periods of having a non-existent appetite and mild stress to intense stressful and emotional eating periods. So I have a quiz that I'm putting in the notes that's a great way for you to assess if you have these stressful eating habits and why you act in certain ways around food when you do. And it's a slightly long quiz, that to take. So take it when you have the time to do it, but go back to those notes. It's with Psychology Today. Now I want to talk about cortisol and hunger. Cortisol is too frequently associated with the fight or flight reflex that our bodies have in response to external threats and stresses. When we experience periods of extreme hunger and intense stress, this triggers the same response from our cortisol levels. Both of these experiences cause the body to respond similarly, and as such, it's easy to see how the boundaries between one and the other can actually become very confusing. So, association, similarly, we've grown up getting a stable release of neurotransmitters to the positive areas of the brain whenever hunger cravings are satisfied in a balanced way, leading to these increased correlations and associations between food and feelings. So recognizing that these thought patterns have formed surrounding the way we view food, we need to be asking ourselves questions like, are we eating purely to feel this rush of contentment, or because our bodies actually need it? And the introspection is vital if you are to gain any kind of understanding of your eating habits. So again, that's self-awareness. Take time to consider these questions the next time that you feel like overeating. If you're already aware of when you struggle to control your eating, I would really love for you to share in the comments what that's all about. What are the triggers for you that get you to eat when you're stressed out? Emotional transparency is something that we need to talk about. And I know that it's not always comfortable to experience and look at your discomfort head on. But it's the only way to make progress against the damaging stress eating habits that you are doing, maybe on a daily basis. Even just taking the time to be honest with yourself and write down when you feel overwhelmed by thoughts of overeating, and you'll start to see a connection. Or when you automatically turn to food for comfort, can be a great way to begin. So again, it's all about being self-aware. Once you identify the root causes, you can set to work on minimizing the risk that will happen to you again. So you'll know the trigger, right? So for instance, if you know that you eat when you're lonely, plan to call a friend or write in your journal instead during those times of loneliness. The more frequently that you divert your energy to these alternative outlets for your energy and thoughts, easier it will become to ignore cravings and to overindulge. It could also help to always carry food with you so that you never feel deprived of food. Emotional eating can be your body's reaction to feeling deprived in either a physical or a mental form in some way. So create new ways to nourish yourself with healthy foods. Stock your fridge with delicious healthy foods. Pack your calendar also with exciting, healthy things to do. And be disciplined about setting aside time for you to renew and relax. And I'm going to put a link that shows some alternative ways to distract yourself from stressful eating. Let's go on to talk about mindful eating. While it's easy to recommend a stress eater to attend a yoga class or to start meditating, it takes a little bit more understanding of these activities to truly have the desired effect. Mindful eating is a term that has been coined by experts to help those who struggle with emotional eating to remain present and aware of the entire duration of a meal. If that sounds like a simple task, It really isn't, because unconsciously, if you're watching television and you have a bag of chips in front of you, you're not paying attention to the amount of chips you're putting in your mouth. You're paying attention to the TV show, and you're just mindlessly eating. So by consciously taking these steps and savoring the bites of food, paying attention to eating, not focusing on television or looking at your phone or whatever it is. Focus on the task at hand. Pay attention to the foods. Pay attention to the texture and the smells of the food, and really enjoy it, right? Because every meal should be one that you enjoy and you're present for. It's a difficult concept, even for those who aren't struggling to overcome emotional eating habits. So many of us are just not aware. We just eat mindlessly. And it's important. Mindful eating consists of several easy to follow steps before, during, and after each meal. Before eating, assess your hunger truthfully. Take time to note your level of hunger before ingesting anything. And also note what kinds of food would most successfully help fuel your body for the current situation that you're in or for the task at hand. Then during, you want to chew slowly. Again, you want to savor the foods. You want to smell the food, the aroma of it, the texture of it, the flavor of it, and take breaks and try to taste each and every little flavor. Many professionals will recommend that you take a break between 5 to 10 minutes in the middle of your meal to assess, do I feel full already? Am I satisfied? Do I still feel hungry, like I want to take a couple of more bites? As you give your stomach and your mind a chance to catch up with each other, you may realize that you're satisfied at half that portion, right? But if you're so busy quickly eating, you're not giving yourself and your body and your mind a chance to connect and realize that you're overdoing it. Then after, you want to try to view the meal that you just ingested as fuel, because food is fuel, to help you to achieve whatever task, work, or activities that you're planning to undertake for the day. So mindfully assess how you feel physically. Note if the food was too heavy, too light, too much, too little, or just enough. Use this information to move forward, not allowing regret to the surface. Just be mindful and do better the next time. If the meal wasn't exactly to your satisfaction, use this to help you in planning your subsequent meals. More helpful mindful eating tips I'm going to include in the notes. I want to talk about mental health and gut health. It's not rare to hear those who complain about mental health difficulties mention diet and a difficult relationship with food and stressful eating as part of the symptoms of their illness that they are experiencing. Recent studies have shown that an overwhelming amount of positive hormones and enzymes are secreted in the gut. And this means that ensuring digestion is at its optimal level should be the priority for those who are seeking to balance out hormonal and emotional functioning. For stress eaters, this can be an interesting place to start, considering their bad habits. The emotions causing the stress eating might initiate with complex hormonal imbalances. And so regulating digestion should become a priority to lower the chances and the severity of these imbalances, slowly returning a certain amount of control to them in regards to their emotional eating habits. If the emotions aren't so strong and extreme, chances are that the period of stress eating won't be either. Gut bacteria directly affects the brain and the hormones. And it's only been in recent years that studies like the one that I'm going to link in the notes below has shown just how strong that effect can be. So I want to talk about a food diary. It's very important. Combating stress eating can be very difficult to overcome. One way to face up to the reality of what you're consuming is to make a pact with yourself, to write down every single piece of food that passes your lips in a food diary. For people used to ignoring ingesting unhealthy amounts of food in a single sitting, this can be a real eye-opener for those people. Take note of what you eat, when you eat, and how you feel before, during, and after you eat it. After a few days of this, you might begin to notice some patterns in your eating habits, whether positive or negative. It's bound to make you see some sort of consistency or inconsistency in the way you eat. There are numerous apps available on your Apple phone and your Android phone, and I put a bunch of them in the links below, but I will tell you that I use MyFitnessPal. It's a free app. You could pay for the extra bells and whistles, but the free version is just as good. But I put a couple in there for you to decide for yourself. Food prepping. The frustrating thing about emotional eating is that even good intentions of cooking yourself a healthy meal can sometimes lead to a binge or a period of emotional and unconscious eating, everything that you've so carefully prepared. For those who struggle with a little thing called portion control, a great tip that I can give you to avoid that of overeating what you prepared is to prep them in small plastic containers as a portion size. Don't leave it as one, make little meals out of it. And so this way, each day you're taking one of these portion sizes and eating that and that only. And that's a great way for your brain to then say it's time to stop. So preparing and portion control is a great thing to do, but you don't want to do it when you're hungry, because then you'll be picking and eating, and again, mindlessly eating, and we want to be mindful about eating. You want to make sure that you're using portion control, and I have some links that I'll put in the notes about food prepping. The next thing we want to go on to talk about is lifestyle analysis. If you feel that you've been measuring and analyzing and attempting to change your eating habits to no avail, then it might be that you're simply not taking everything in your life into account as an attempt to change how you eat, because good health is more than just the food on your plate. So, as stress eating is an emotionally charged habit, simply changing what you eat might not get to the bottom of the issue. You may also need to look at other external factors, such as the company that you keep, your environmental dimensions, where you live, your environment, emotional and hormonal factors as well. These all play into stressful eating. This also includes your physical and your mental activity. To successfully reassess your eating patterns, you must reassess every aspect of your lifestyle. It makes so much sense, and yet it's so often overlooked that to have a healthy relationship with food requires you to have a healthy relationship with all other aspects of your life as well. Livestrong.com is a great website. I'll put it in the notes. It's a great website which covers all aspects of achieving a healthy, balanced lifestyle, with articles that are relating to everything from food, nutrition, and mental and physical fitness are available for you to assess how these areas of your life fit together. So it's a great resource, and I'll put it in the notes. Then I want to talk about eating disorders. So while stress eating is not recognized as an eating disorder, it can be a significant contributing factor to the symptoms of almost all of them. So EDNOS stands for eating disorder not otherwise specified. And it's a term used to denote the varying intensities and scope of those suffering from unhealthy eating habits that don't quite meet the exact criteria for anorexia or bulimia or binge eating disorder, but yet they're very, very similar. And the ironic thing is that a disordered eating pattern can cause you stress and anxiety, and those levels to rise, becoming even more significant of a contributing factor to any existing issues with food. So, for example, if becoming stressed in a situation surrounding food causes you to lose control of your eating entirely and enter into a downward spiral of negative food associations, the stress eating can be seen as a trigger for worsening eating habits and spiraling negative thoughts of self-worth. It's a precariously blurred line that exists between the labels of stress eating and eating disorders. And so it's advisable to seek psychological help if you feel that you might be leaning towards the latter. And the emotional eating test, I'm going to put a link to it, is a good way to assess your relationship with food and evaluate the steps that are necessary for you to take to overcome any issues that you may be having. And I have the links below. Body image. A huge portion of eating and food-related disorders come as a direct result of negative body image and inaccurate perception of ourselves. And so the role that body image plays in beating stress and emotional eating is not immediately obvious. And yet, as we delve deeper and start to understand more about the mind-body connection, we can see how stressors in the physical body directly correlate to the stresses in our mind. And while overeating inevitably plays havoc on our digestion and our internal organs, increasing the risk of contracting various diseases, such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. It also places a huge amount of stress on our minds. And as I already discussed with you, the hormones and the enzymes that are involved in creating the sensations of stress are produced in the brain and can be released to the body in response to external triggers or stresses. And when these triggers occur, our actions respond directly to the particular emotions of either sadness or guilt or stress or self-hate that are associated with them. And emotional eating becomes a crutch on which we attempt to redirect our attention away from the uncomfortable thoughts or stresses and bring it towards the food. I'm going to put some links to that. Let's talk exercise. Exercise should never be used to counteract an episode of binge eating or stress eating, but it can significantly help with reducing the urges to binge and lose control of food. When we exercise, we feel good, we feel stronger, and we are full of positive endorphins that shift energy around in the body instead of leaving it stuck in one place or another. As with other lifestyle factors, which combine to make a balanced, healthy diet more achievable, exercise should ideally be engaged within moderation. And as a complement to a balanced lifestyle, instead of using exercise to run off excess calories from a period of stress eating. For example, try to distract yourself from stress eating in the first place by engaging in some light form of exercise instead. If the urge to stress eat comes upon you at a time when your body is not hungry, and you've taken a moment to recognize this, the next step is to engage your mind and your body with another activity in distracting you from these urges. It's about actively working against the observation that you make when you keep a food diary, right? Not merely noting them and doing nothing. You need to take action. Feeling safe, feeling strong and capable comes as a result of regular exercise. And all these things happen to be emotions, right? Which those who stress eat regularly are lacking in. Stress eating can be viewed as a weakness, and as a result of being incapable or unsafe in whatever conflicted emotions the person is dealing with at the time. In this way, exercise can prove to be highly beneficial to those hoping to strengthen against the temptation of stress eating. I have an interesting piece on the best and worst kinds of physical exercise for emotional eaters. The media. We've been conditioned externally by a vast, ever-growing, and ever-hungry giant that has a huge and relentless impact on all of our senses, not just hunger, and that's the media. Many food companies, especially mass-produced food companies, use the media as a way to make us believe that their particular kind of food and lifestyle will make us happy. Up until recent years, there was little to no emphasis placed on understanding the link between our food and our happiness. It just assumed that the bright colors and the catchy ad campaign would satisfy our need to fit in and to eat and follow the trends. In terms of how this external presentation affects our mental health, however, the media has a direct impact on how we view our eating habits and, more importantly, our bodies. Think about it. If we're being told that eating a Big Mac or a Happy Meal will quite literally make you happy, then surely we're going to believe it and buy as many Happy Meals as we possibly can. Not only is this mass-produced and processed food unhealthy for our bodies, but it's being presented to us in a way that is mentally unhealthy as well. Add this to the equation, the frequency of the mixed messages that we're getting coming from every angle. It's no wonder that we lose touch with our senses, forgetting to listen to our bodies and the natural cues that our bodies give us when we're hungry, when we're stressed, when we're tired. We don't pay attention. Again, it's self-awareness, right? While we know it will more likely be that we consume more food if our attention is diverted elsewhere, like social media or TV while we're eating, it's interesting to consider if it's to blame for emotional eating as well. And I have a link to that. What are the triggers? Getting to know the triggers is really key to overcome or at least manage your emotional eating. And there are no specific outlines as to what an individual's triggers will be. And for this reason, I recommend that you take time while you try to gain control of your eating to focus solely on you. Focus solely on you. Don't worry about other people. It's by becoming comfortable eating when you need to, as much as you need to, and stopping at that, slowly beginning to trust yourself around food, trusting your body and trusting the signals that it gives you, and listening for once instead of numbing the pain or other complicated emotions with food. And I'm putting an article about triggers in there. And personal choices. In the end, avoid stress eating, and learning to nourish yourself with balanced, satisfying meals is easier said than done. I'm not going to kid you. And you may have slip-ups from time to time. It's natural. Busy schedules, unpredictable meal plans happen, unpredictable meetings happen, change of plans, commuter train is late. It's critical to be aware of and to know that it's perfectly natural and it's perfectly healthy to not be 100% healthy every single day, 100% of the time. Give yourself a break. By providing your body with balanced, regular portion control meals, you'll begin to gain control of your eating patterns, and more importantly, to recognize when you have thoughts or emotions that would have resulted in stress eating. And it's constant choices. The battle against any food-related issues is not one that could be fought once and forgotten about. No, it's a series of decisions that you make over and over and over again, meal after meal, hunger cue after hunger cue, maintaining awareness surrounding your tendencies and habits as you continue to engage with your food in the most mindful way to achieve balance in your eating habits. And this can be difficult at times with surrounding elements or environments or the people in your life that may have previously contributed to your stress eating triggers, right? So it's vital that you acknowledge this for what it is and take the steps to either reduce or remove them. So what triggers or stresses in your life can you remove today? You do you. Take the reins regarding stress eating is more than just ensuring your continued physical health. It's taking control of your mental health as well. When you start to consider the connection between your thoughts that you're having, anxiety, stress, sadness, and how they're affecting your body, discomfort, indigestion, and stomach issues, stress eating can seem like a vast and all-encompassing issue. But just as you can change your mind one thought at a time, you can change the way you relate to food one bite at a time through mindful eating, journaling, food prepping, speaking openly about your issues, acknowledging your triggers for what they are. You can and will see an improvement. Striving for balance and not perfection is the best advice that I give my clients all the time. And it's the best advice that I ever received. And being aware that recovery is not linear is a humbling realization. Allow yourself to struggle and find it difficult at first. Just be aware of what you're feeling and what's going on. How do you feel? This topic can be sensitive to people, so I want you to check in with yourself and how you're feeling after everything that we discussed today. Are you overwhelmed? Are you inspired? Are you ready to tackle this once and for all? Please let me know. Reach out to me. So we are done with this presentation today, and you're just getting started. While it might seem like a distant, unachievable goal right now for you to overcome, this, however, I can promise you is doable. With a little bit of determination and, of course, support, I believe that you can change the way you think about food for good. I'm here to support you in any way possible. If there's anything I could do, you can schedule a free 30-minute health assessment with me at www.susanlopresti.com. You can also email me your questions at susan@susanlopresti.com. I'm happy to provide any help at all to you. Thank you so much for listening here today. Until the next time, be well, stay happy, and bye for now. Take good care, everyone.